Hey, it's Writers Row, where we talk about the writing community, all things writing, including the business side, the creative side, and the funny side.
Is
On
that what
this
it is?
and on this episode, Uniweb interview show
A very
has
special guest.
has invaded our show,
I'm
as you
taking
can see.
over.
But we'll get to that in a second. First off, I'm DC Wright-Hammer, one of your hosts that you're familiar with, and I am also joined by King Huckster.
David Gane, yeah, your other host.
Yes. And our
This is
very special guest for this episode is
Matthew Whiteside. I had you all fooled.
holy cow!
him and his long con. I thought it was somebody else from Interweb interview show. Wait, Uniweb interview show. I screwed it up.
Interweb.
How we doing? How you doing, Matt?
You were thrown off by Matt's disguise.
Yeah, I'm sorry I terrified you all. I'm doing great, man. Spent all day acting like a goofball with my kids, and
And then carried it over to here.
Yeah,
I
right.
mean, I don't really ever turn it off, to be honest with you.
Where do you get the energy for all that?
You know, it's funny. That's actually part of some of the stuff I'm writing. Like, I'm so lazy now. All right, like I'm 33, but like I was at the mall yesterday, or not yesterday, the other day. I was on an escalator going down, sitting on it, drinking an energy drink, and I was just like, I didn't know how I was gonna go on. Like it was my idea to go to the mall and go for a walk because I'm like I live like a 75-year-old man, but I don't know. Like people think I have a lot of energy, but they only see me in spurts of like hour interviews. The rest of the time, I'm like a slug.
And you're just recharging and gathering energy.
I'm gathering spirits, human spirits. I'm spirit bombing all the time.
That sounds exhausting.
It is pretty exhausting.
Okay, so I totally interrupted your introduction of Matt. So now let's continue on.
Everyone knows now. It's Matt Whiteside. It's the Matt Whiteside. It's the guy who's interviewed everybody in the world, including David and myself.
Yeah.
That's part of how we got to know Matt, and we just we all have been friends ever since. And we wanted to bring Matt on. His show has done so much for the writing community, and it just makes sense. We have a show, he has a show. Let's bring them together. So the whole show, we really wanted to talk about Matt's journey. Like, how did he become this perceived ball of energy who has no energy?
Perceived?
Well, he says he doesn't. You perceive him.
I'm like
and like what? So let me take a step back because I'm missing all the good jokes.
I know because you're too busy talking. You're trying to do this good intro for Matt, and Matt's just like, I want to talk.
I'm fine.
Now.
I'm fine.
So I really want to start at the beginning. Okay. How did you feel when you were born, Matt?
I felt very wet and and cold.
Okay.
You set yourself up for this.
Right, no. Or who are you talking to, David?
You, DC. When you ask Matt how he felt when he was born, he's going to give you that answer.
No, that's the best answer.
That's a good answer, I think. From the beginning, I believe we all were the Uniweb from the beginning. If you believe in the Big Bang Theory, we all were one dense form of matter. We were all the exact same thing spinning in some nothingness that nobody knew about. It was just some glowing hot ball of shit, right? It exploded and it turned into us Skyping each other. If you think about it, right? Like, what the hell? I think we're all connected in that way. And we're trying to come back to that point. Like, we know subconsciously that's who we are. And we're literally like our subconscious is doing it in such a way that it created machines to connect us, an internet, Skype, like all these different things to connect us because we all already connected. And it's like, we know this.
So is that why you call it the Uniweb show?
Yeah, it's where all people become one people. That was my initial tagline. Because I literally believe that we're all connected in this. And that's why I'm all about like promoting other people's stuff. Like, I don't even like talking about my books. Like, I know they're gonna do well eventually, but that's so small in the whole picture of what I'm doing. I did when I first started this journey, I thought it was the pinnacle for sure. I was like, I'm gonna be the number one writer in the world. I still have my goal list that's got all those goals on there. I still have my tracking sheet of like the top selling authors of all time with William Shakespeare on top. And then me like with like 70 books sold. He's got 4.5 billion. I'm like, I'm coming for you, Bill. You're mine. But so much has changed in such a short period of time to where it's like, oh, that's all going to be fine. There's so much more, there's so much more.
How much of a period of time? I'm curious.
Honestly, like, so I've only been on Twitter for like 6 months. Like I wrote the novella Dead Heart, and then Trent Foster and the Council of 10. After I wrote Trent Foster and the Council of 10, that was seriously like an awakening for me, because that character goes through a journey where he realizes that he has an unlimited potential to do anything, but he doesn't grasp it until like I take the science fiction angle and the superpower angle, and it's like, okay, it's shoved in his face, and there's a galactic force going after him for his power. But it's like all human beings have this ability to do anything and everything they want. And it's like I was saying before we started recording, that anxiety is like, thank God for anxiety now. But like, if I can find a way to push into the uncomfortableness of life and like use anxiety as a weapon to sharpen me, as opposed to like a dagger to stab me, then I can be whatever I want to be. It's just, how willing am I to be open to what the universe is going to give to me? Because it's like, whether we believe it or not, man, we are receptors. Like, I can't not receive. If I walk outside on a sunny day, I'm going to get burnt if I'm not careful. Like, that's because my skin will receive the sun. Like, I have to be willing to give back as much as possible. The more I give, the more I'm able to receive. It's just up to me. Like, I always talk about, it's like breathing. If I don't let the air out, I can't take another one in. I got to just keep on breathing.
Okay. You gave us so
there you go.
Now I got to unpack it for the next 20 minutes. Do I have TC?
Sure.
Good luck. Jerk.
Okay. So how long have you felt this way? Like, how long have you been really like diving into this part of the journey? Over the last 6 months, or has this been building up over a couple of years?
Yeah, it's been a lifetime, honestly.
It
I've been searching my entire life. Like, I was a very depressed kid. I was extremely overweight, bullied, tormented. Like, I was one of 5 kids, but I wasn't liked at home. Like, my brother and sisters hated me. The kids at school didn't like me. I was always on this journey to find something. And I make this joke that I was a very depressed kid. Like, I strictly took sit-down showers as a child. That's how depressed I was. Like, if you've ever been depressed, you know what a sit-down shower is.
I know what it is.
You're just like, but like, yeah, that's the thing. Like, my whole life has been that. But since getting sober, the doors have unlocked, because I'm actually working without numbing myself. And that's where the anxiety piece comes in. Like, I'm not running away from those feelings anymore. I'm running towards them. And I'm realizing that they were just an illusion the entire time. But that shit's scary because it feels so real. Like, my mind deludes itself incredibly well. Like, I was going rafting down the river the other day, and this family was behind me on these tubes, and they were looking off into the woods. And my first thought was, and they were like looking at something, I don't know what it was, and my thought was, oh my God, there's a sniper up there. Like, swear to God, I was like, there's a sniper up there. And I have my paddle in my hand, and instead of telling Sherry, hey, I think there's a sniper in the woods, I'm embarrassed to say this, I took my paddle and I moved it in front of my face. Like in my mind, I knew this was like, that's a crazy thought, Matt. But my mind was like, but what if there is a sniper up there? You don't like it was telling me, like giving me that fear of there's somebody gonna kill you.
And
And that shit's always been real.
that sniper's like curses. He put an oar in front of his face. And now
Yeah, exactly.
This will never go through the wood. Darn it!
you kids and that crazy dog.
Exactly. I know that all sounds insane, but it's for me to say that I've been deluded. Like I've been insane my whole life. I've allowed my mind and the fear of what isn't real to keep me from so much that like now that I'm moving, every time I see a fear, I go towards it and go through it. It's like the doors explode open for whatever it is. It's amazing.
What do you mean by that? So you lean into the fear and good things happen out of it, or everything
Oh yeah,
happens out of it?
good things happen, man. Like people show up. Like I was saying before, um, I didn't even have social media before I wrote the book, and I didn't want to get back on social media, but um, I just decided to do it. I figured I had to do it if I wanted, because I thought Trent Foster was a very important story. Well, I knew it was for me, and I wanted other people to read it. Um, but what happened was, as soon as I started putting myself out there, like you guys showed up, the writing community showed up. People like I was laughed out of the writing center in college because my grammar was so terrible. Like the lady who was supposed to be helping me just laughed at me. And I was like, well, screw you. This isn't helpful. Um, but so I still hold a tough spot in my heart for like people who are too hard on grammar because I get it, but I also don't think it should stop anyone from writing. Um, but like everyone showed up in my life, like everyone on Twitter, like, and then doing the interview show, everyone showed up in my life, and somebody who had no clue what he was doing about writing was talking to some of the greatest. Like, you guys are amazing writers, and you've been doing it your whole life, and like these people who are incredible artists, and I'm talking to you and learning from you, and getting to gain all this knowledge and like apply it to my craft now, and like be a part of that group. It was like the coolest thing. And then so when I decided, okay, I wanted to step into my next sphere of acting and doing stand-up comedy, I was like, I just have to trust that people will show up along the way, because I had no clue what to do. And literally, like, people started showing up. Like I was telling you before we started recording, um, a guy I went to college with has been doing stand-up for 9 years. I just so happened to run into him at a stand-up show that I just so happened to go to because I was like, because I signed up for an open mic, and I was like, I need to go watch as much stand-up as possible to like desensitize myself. He was performing. He made a joke about the college, and I was like, wait a second. And then not only that, but he teaches writing comedy, and he also does a show like I do, where he interviews other comics about doing stand up and mastering stand up. It's called Hot Breath with Joe Byers. And it was like the craziest thing. He was doing something so similar to what I was doing. But like seeing that, I'm like, all right, I'm not, I have to be aware of these situations. People show up, in our lives. And that happens with all of us. It's just like, holy crap.
So how long have you felt that attitude then of you show up, people will show up as well?
Not long at all.
Like,
seriously, since like, I don't know, maybe 6-7 months.
really?
But it's been identifying itself over and over and over again. I couldn't do it if I wasn't sober. Like none of this would be possible if I hadn't gotten sober. If I hadn't, the first time somebody showed up for me was in sobriety, for my sobriety. Like when I couldn't get out of bed, when I wanted to just end it all, I had a friend that showed up for me. I had somebody I met at a meeting. I met my sponsor at a meeting, and then these people just started slowly falling into my life. And it's like, if I, talk about the universe, God, whatever. There's a poem called "The Million Masks of God," where we all go back into the green room and we take off our mask, kind of deal, and we realize that we're all part of this big thing. But that's it, man. Like, we're all just gonna have a big laugh at the end of it, and like realize that we're all here to help each other. We're all here for each other, and we're all here for life, like to experience life in all the different ways that we experience life. Because I can experience life the way Matt does, DC experiences the way DC does, David experiences the way David does, and that's just, and what a beautiful thing, right? And then we get to like cross streams and pee all over each other.
That's
You're
true.
like, this is getting too serious. I got to bring a bit of weirdness into
I
it.
saw you guys. I saw your faces. You guys were like, "Oh my god."
No,
Of course.
of course, it went to pee. So I've prepared everyone that there's wild cards in this episode because Matt
Is this
does
your
wild
first
cards in
one?
his show. So I'm gonna
Wow.
I'm gonna lob you one.
All right.
And
But
you
I
both,
want to ask the serious questions.
yeah, you'll get to that in a second. Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Sure,
David?
I'll eat it if it's there, but it's not my first choice.
How about pine trees on pizza, yes or no?
Can I?
That's a pass for me.
We got one pass.
Yeah, I can't come up with a scenario where it works. So
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough. All right, move on to your serious question. I just had to sneak that in there. Well,
Thank you.
Yeah.
No, Hawaiian pizza is my favorite pizza.
oh, shots
Pineapple and
fired.
Canadian bacon.
Canadian bacon? You mean
Yeah.
ham?
Ham. Yeah, I was gonna say or ham, whatever. But you're Canadian. I had to give you a shout out, bro.
Right.
But I did hear that there's a uniqueness to the Canadian bacon, the way
Yeah,
it's
from Canada.
prepared, something. Yeah.
It's
What?
different 'cause it's different because it's
beaver's
from
bacon.
Canada. That's what it is.
Okay, I
Oh.
got to tell you, I was going for a run. This is a total side note. I was going
Perfect.
for a run the other day, and I swear I saw a beaver that was just like a little guy sitting
Yeah.
in the grass, eating the grass, and it was amazing. And it was a very Canadian experience, and I had to share that right now.
Cool story, bro.
Oh, hey, look over there, eh?
It is the worst.
Look at that, ah.
Yeah,
That's
Uh,
quite a
that's,
sight, oh.
that's an odd Canadian accent.
Very,
I don't know.
You're gonna have to work on that for your stand-up.
I know. I got to work on so many different things, man.
Okay, so I want to know. Tell me, what are your books about? What's your genre that you write in?
Oh,
Would you
yeah.
say?
Fantasy delusion. That's the genre I write in. Absolute
But
delusion.
is there you're a very spiritual person. You have some interesting thoughts there. So is that showing up in the writing?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. My first two books are absolutely this story of dying and being born again. Like the story Dead Heart is about the son of Sir Lancelot who gets killed in battle with a magical sword that turns him into a undead super zombie. Okay.
Okay.
He gets killed and
I
has
like
to.
you're like, okay, are you with me here
Are
still?
you with me here? Now he's a super zombie, so he's not like some lame zombie that just stumbles around. He'll mess you up, but he doesn't have any legs. His legs got cut off in battle. So that's part of it's a humor. It's like Monty Python. It's total
Okay.
like silliness. It's a quick read. It's only like 16,000 words. It's like 66 pages or whatever. But he has to find his purpose again. Because he was the son of Sir Lancelot. He was the youngest knight ever. And all of a sudden, he's this undead monster that nobody wants anymore. His dad doesn't want him around. King Arthur thinks he's a joke. Like, he's got to find his place. And he goes on this quest to kill a dragon. And he finds his place. And it was really cool to write that. I didn't mean for that to happen, by the way. I write completely stream of consciousness when I write.
It definitely sounds like you're right into the bone on that one.
Yeah, but Trent Foster happened the same way, man. I totally stream of consciousness. I wasn't like I had an idea that I want. it actually started out, I wanted it to be like a replica story, but then I was like, no, that's too like what's the Blade Runner or whatever.
Yeah.
So it didn't turn out to be that, but the character again is suffering in the beginning of the story from who he thought he was supposed to be, and that whole idea has to be absolutely smashed, to where he finds himself, some tragic things happen in his life, and out of his darkest moments come his most incredible gifts. And I believe that's true of everybody. Like, I've realized that in my life. The things that I thought were my curses, like being an alcoholic, like growing up, being bullied all the time, like my dad leaving, all this kind of stuff, like being extremely poor, doing some very bad things I thought were the worst things, are in fact the greatest gifts in the entire world, because it means that I'm able to help somebody else who's suffering. And like, I never don't have something I can give, because I have all of that. And I keep acquiring more of that because I'm an imperfect person,
Well, and so I've started giving with the Indie Author Spotlight last year, and I
Yeah.
found like you just find people find you, and you
Yeah.
connect, and you help people out, and you move on. You don't necessarily, you're not like looking for anything else. It's just like, give me this moment to really spotlight someone. And as a result, like, people see you doing these things and they sort of gravitate towards you. And so I
Yeah.
guess I want to kind of take it to the beginning, like, where did you get that confidence to start recording yourself with writers, and how has that sort of benefited you, not that you were doing it for that, but how has that kind of come back around and helped you out?
So the idea just came to me because I wanted to start a YouTube channel. Because when I got on Twitter, it was fully selfish. It was to promote my work. It was, and I was running around like a huckster, like Mr. King Huckster. And I thought, this sucks. I know my book is good. I shouldn't be chasing people around because, like, whatever, I don't want to, and I talk about this a lot. I don't want anybody to feel like I'm forcing them to watch me or read anything. Like, please, for the love of God, if you don't like watching what I'm doing or reading what I'm writing, don't. Like, I don't want that at all. Like, that's ridiculous. I'm doing it all for hopefully enjoyment. But I thought, and this is something the program taught me, is to be of service. Now, how can I be of service to other writers? I have no, and it was honestly like, I didn't know what I was doing. I got kind of pissed off. Like, there's so many of us out there with these stories, and we all have our hands up, and nobody can see us because it's just a sea of hands. I was like, well, maybe I can just start a channel and start talking to people and give them a platform to tell their story. And it just came from that. And heck yeah, man, it's like, it's been amazing. Like, people have actually read my book and have liked it, which is great. That's all I wanted. But it's gotten a lot more eyes on it because of it, which is wonderful. But the connections, the friendships, like, the thing I'm most proud of, honest to God, man, is like the groups, the like subgroups and stuff. The people who have connected because of the show, and like who are reading each other's books.
Right.
I'm like, holy shit, man, that's amazing. Like,
There's like
that's
groups that are
exactly what it's
going
for.
that are just like, I can't even keep up with what's going on with all the groups that have met through you.
Right.
Yeah, I know, it's insane. And that's the beauty of it, because I know, and like, I don't have to be like best friends with everybody, because we're not all like that, right? We don't all connect on that same level. But the whole idea is, everybody's story has merit because there's somebody else who can identify with some point. Like, you were talking on the last show, DC, about some of the stuff you went through
Yep.
in your journey. That is so important. I feel like when we share our vulnerabilities, that's the only time people can really grasp onto us and say, I identify with this. And they can almost tether themselves to you in that way. And making that connection, that's where God is. That's where like spirituality, the universe, that's where all of humanity comes together. And that's it, man. Like, that's the thing right there. For me, at least, I love that.
Well, yeah, and specifically to that, like these secrets we have, these traumas, these scars, the things that like have brought us into adulthood, and like now they're just part of us. A
Yeah,
lot of times we hide them, we run from them, we pretend they're not there,
yeah,
and it gets to a point, especially when you're on a very public, outlet like YouTube,
hmm
that you want people to know you're being genuine. You want people to know this is who I am. This is where I've come from.
yeah,
And I think when you bear it all, it is a show of strength. It's taking your scars and basically saying that it means you survived. It means that you got another day. That's what a scar is. It
yeah,
hurts. It hurt at one time. It might still hurt. You still might have some work to do for it, but it means that you have another chance. And so,
yeah,
um, so
yeah.
they,
Absolutely, because I use the analogy of like a broken leg. Like nobody when they break their leg is like, yes, my
right.
bone is gonna be so much stronger in a couple of weeks. You know, when you're in that pain, you're just like, son of a bitch, like I'll never be happy again. My
Right.
leg hurts, like I can't think of anything besides the pain. But when you have somebody else who's like, dude, I broke my leg like, 6 months ago and I'm okay. You're like, whoa, you can start taking a breath. And if you can take a breath, then you might be able to take a couple of breaths. And then you might be able to get through that day without like cutting your leg off or whatever. Or like doing something insane because because of the pain you think will never leave you. And I think that's what it is. It's like, how can we help each other get to another day, another experience? Because like I said, that's what we're all trying to just experience life. I mean, I don't know what comes after this. I don't know what happened before. Like you told me how I felt when I was born, wet and cold. Like, I have no clue what I was like before that moment, like before I was brought into this earth. So I'm pretty sure I'm just like I need to figure out how to experience whatever's going on here as fully as possible and like enjoy it with as many people as possible.
Which brings me to my next wild card.
I'm like,
Wow,
I'm
God.
like tearing up and ready to just like, oh my gosh.
If you could live forever, how often would you wear clothes?
Oh, all the time. I've got
Really?
weird. I've got weird nipples, man.
You too?
Yeah.
I think we just learned something about each other. I think we just formed a club, whether we
The
knew it or
weird
not.
nipple club.
Yeah.
Hashtag weird nipples.
And I'm
Okay,
gonna
that
tell
has
you
to
what.
go in the description of this video.
I'm jealous of the guys that can just like. I'm not necessarily like self-conscious about my body, but my nipples for sure.
Okay.
Can I ask you what is wrong with your nipples that you're self-conscious
They're
about them? Well, not even wrong. What makes you self-conscious
Okay,
about
be
them?
careful
like I
what you
told you.
wish for, David.
I told you I used to be a really fat kid. Now this is some breaking news here. I used to have breast as a child. I had surgery when I was younger. I had gynecomastia because I was like 300 pounds when I was like I don't know 12 or something, and I had some massive honkers, and so like the nipples grew along with those. Are we best friends yet?
Yeah,
Okay.
we are.
Didn't know I was going to get that out of the living forever clothes question.
Who wants to see me with my shirt off now? It's part of my stand-up routine though, so I feel like especially doing stand-up, I'm gonna have to be vulnerable as shit. So because nobody, I don't care. I've gotten over myself enough to. That's another thing, man. Like I can't have an ego and get up there or get on here and like be this guy because I won't last a week
Right.
because everyone's like, "Look at this freaking idiot." I'm like,
Yeah.
I know. I have to know that I'm an idiot. I think we all have to know to some extent we're friggin' idiots. We're just trying to have fun. It's like, okay, get over yourself. Go do something. you know?
There's so many one-liners from this episode.
I
Uh,
know. I love it, man.
There's some really good, truthful one-liners out of this episode, man.
okay. Okay.
There are.
I agree.
I
Absolutely.
want Matt's self-help book right now.
Well, if you've read any of my blog, like that blog I did every single morning for like 8 months. There's I've got to go back in there and categorize it all, but it's so much. I'm gonna turn it. Oh, that's gonna be a book. I just have to like go back at some point and do it because that's 8 months worth of, you know, like that's over 100,000 words for sure on that blog.
Where is that one?
Seekingpurposetoday.com on my website.
Okay.
We'll put a link in the description.
Cool. Thank you.
Down below, where Matt's nipples are.
Well, wait, they're really that low?
No, I mean they're normal height now. It's just
normal height.
It used to be much longer.
All right.
Okay.
What
So
do you got?
you want some silly, don't you, DC?
I'm
yeah,
good.
you said you wanted to be silly.
You want this to be wild and crazy for the last part of this show.
Oh,
What's your crazy? Give us a crazy wild card.
Crazy wild card. I don't. Well, all right. Well,
Matt started wearing a wig and licking a sword, so you got to
listen. I'm sorry, if there's any chance to be weird, I know I make it hard on other people to like have a good time. They're like, how the fuck am I supposed to have like what am I supposed to do with this guy?
So when you do an interview, I gotta ask this one because I know how our interview went. It was supposed to be testing the mics, and then we talked for an hour, and then we did the interview, and then we talked another hour. It was like such a long interview.
Yeah.
So when you do an interview, do you kind of set it up early on before the camera rolls to kind of get yourself out there so they know what to expect from you?
No.
Or do they know what they're getting into?
I don't think a lot of them do, unless they've watched the show. And honestly, it depends on the person. Like I like to just go with the room. I think a good conversation, you have to go with the room. You know, if you're getting feedback of like somebody who's very standoffish, I like to try to break the ice with them to make them feel comfortable as much as possible. Because the show is inevitably about them, not me. It really depends on, like, I've had 2-hour, like you said, we've talked for 2 hours. I think me and DC's was over 50 minutes of the record time was over 50 minutes. I've done some 2-hour interviews. It's really just like whatever you want to do. Like if it's going well, let's keep talking, you know. I'm a fun boy.
Okay, hashtag fun boy.
Hashtag fun boy.
All right. Wild card. Puppies or kittens? Pick one, and why?
I'm waiting for the crazy ones. Where's that?
Puppies for sure.
Or kittens? Both. Why can't we have both? And they get to play together.
So,
they get to play
Matt
together.
just condemned kittens.
Yeah.
I wanna state clearly that Matt condemned kittens. Who are you gonna condemn, David?
Hate them.
You hate kittens? How can you hate kittens?
I hope they burn in kitten hell. I don't hate any living thing, or I don't. I got to go with the puppies.
What about mosquitoes? You like mosquitoes? I guess they're like food for some things, right?
Yeah, they are actually.
They spread so much disease.
Yeah, but they've also created dinosaurs for Jurassic Park, so whatever.
Okay. Yeah, come on.
Come on. Use your brain, DC. What would you have done for that summer without mosquitoes? We would have not watched dinosaurs poop. Okay.
Well, and we've gotten a couple of them, right? Out of it. They're not all good, but like,
right.
If we didn't have the mosquitoes, we wouldn't have any of that.
I mean, we got Jeff Goldblum too. I think that like rocketed his career.
Sexy Jeff Goldblum.
Sexy
too,
Jeff,
right?
Hell yeah. That's true.
That's me doing the sexy Jeff.
That's not even, I don't know what that is. That is the Canadian 75% transaction or conversion rate Jeff Goldblum because Canada.
Do you know what a mosquito's lifespan is?
It's like a day or something, isn't it?
No, it's 4 months.
What?
Yeah.
How do you know that?
Do in all that time?
Look it up, dude. It's 4 months.
Everything's on Wikipedia.
Because me and Sherry were talking about insects because we have very deep conversations about like
Sherry's your partner?
My girlfriend, yeah.
Girlfriend? Okay.
Um,
Just
yeah,
clarifying.
she's my dog. I talk to her all the time. We talk about mosquitoes and whatnot.
Sherry's gonna hit you when she sees this
She
episode.
is. She's like, "Excuse me." No, she doesn't watch anything I do anymore. She's like, "I've heard enough of your shit."
My family is not even showing any interest in this show.
Dude, so I did my stand up, and my first joke was for my mom. I said on stage, I wrote this joke for my mom, and she loved it because I told her it. She loved it. Well, she hated it, but she loved it because I wrote it, and it was can I say it?
Yeah, if you want
I
to.
guess.
Is it naughty? Is it that bad?
It's just so sexist. But it's funny because my mom is like the least like she's, a straight up feminist, and like she was like, "Oh, Matt, you're so bad." She loved it.
DC's like, I don't know if I'm
Yeah.
happy with
It's
where
like,
this is going.
Don't worry, I'll cut it just before the punchline.
That's what I did. I know everyone wanted to hear the punchline. That's what I did. I won't say it.
Oh, okay.
No, is this on your Twitter though?
Yeah, that's that one. But I
Okay,
cut it.
so
I
people
cut
can
it
find
before
it
the
there.
punchline. No, I cut it before the punchline.
Oh.
So here's another thing. Like I want, like having an opinion, like having a perspective, and being funny are two things. One thing I'm worried about is the whole PC movement thing. Like I love everybody. I think everyone has a right to do whatever the hell they want. It's worrisome in comedy when people get offended when you're obviously telling a joke. Where I think comedy is so great because it opens the channels of conversation for everything, and that's what it was in the beginning. It's like, and they've done research on comedy, like time plus tragedy equals comedy. Like the longer something's happened that was bad, and it was an evolutionary trait that has helped us move on from terrible things in our life. It's like something to help us, and we're like getting so butthurt about it. I hate that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna offer. So, no, I get where you're coming from, right? So
Yeah.
you put out a joke, and half the audience is offended, half the audience might laugh,
Yeah.
but I think if you're gonna get big with comedy, you kind of have to take both, right? They're not stopping you from telling the jokes; they're just criticizing you for telling them, and some people actually like them, which is going to further your career. And so you kind of have to take both, right? You can't have the good without the rest. You can't have it
Yeah.
both ways, can you?
No. Yeah, no, you're 100% right. I think that's where a big fear of mine is, because I am 100% a people pleaser too. Like that's been one of my biggest traits. Like my family didn't like me growing up. Okay. So if you think about that, like I wanted my family to like me, obviously. I wanted other kids to like me, obviously. So I'm a huge people pleaser. I have these opinions, and I think comedy is a great way to do it. I am terrified though that like I'm gonna shut these other people out when all I really want to do is just make people laugh, you know. Um, but the intent is, I think, I think if we can laugh at what we find so horrendous about ourselves, and we realize how small it is, that like you're a woman or you're gay or you're black or whatever, like whatever the thing is, that is offensive, right, to some people. If we can just realize that we're all just human beings experiencing this thing, and those are just like these small little things that shouldn't, I know they do, but I'm saying that they shouldn't play a part. They shouldn't be such a hampering thing, and we could just laugh about it and poke fun at each other and just become friends. Like the people who pick on me the most now are my friends. Like we tear each other apart. You can do that with your friends though. And that's what I'm saying. Like if you become friends with other cultures and religions and sexes and whatever, we can tear each other apart because we love each other. It's because we're having fun with each other. Because we know at the end of the day, it's just a mask. It's just something we're doing, and we're all human beings. You know, that's my thing. That's what I think. It's like we're all the same. Like, I have no issue with any other thing. I think stereotypes are hilarious. I do. I know that people can be offended by them, so I don't like openly just go attack. I'm like, I don't attack anybody, but I think that we can all laugh with each other. I think we can come closer together by like stop thinking so much of ourselves. If that makes sense. And I had to learn that the hard way. Like I had to learn that by destroying myself over and over again and like being destroyed by other people and thinking words were so important and so powerful and so painful and realizing it's just like it's all like pull back like 1,000 feet and look how small we are in the picture of things, right? And just like it's not that big a deal is all I'm trying to say. Wow, wild card, baby. That's powerful right there.
That was a wild card, yeah.
I mean, we're running out of time. Matt, I think you got a hard journey ahead of you. I understand your opinion. I don't think it's going to be all rainbows and sunshine and people are going to accept you. But if that's what you want to do, I think it's like everything else. You lean into your fear, like you were saying, give it a go, and you learn from it and you move on. So, that's kind of where I'm at. We don't see eye to eye perfectly on that, but I don't, you do you, and we'll see where it happens. I mean, I like you. You're a good guy. So,
I feel like this is like a whole topic.
Right.
It's like cut to commercial now, and
right?
I'm like, no.
So
you don't like my take on comedy?
No, it's the PC culture. I think that I think it goes both ways. Actually, in the case that people don't want to laugh at stereotypes, and like I think there was a period of 15 years where people did laugh a lot at stereotypes because they were satirized. They were turned into jokes that for years were actually oppressive and offensively used to pigeonhole people and to actually marginalize people. And then there was a period of 15 years where the satire was, well, let's make fun of that marginalizing of people. And now we've gotten to a point where it's not satire anymore, and people aren't even laughing at the satire of the marginalization. And so I think now we've gotten to a point where it's been actually flipped, in my opinion. And when you call someone out on stereotyping or potentially being racist or sexist or things like that, we're getting to the point now where that's the offensive thing. It's offensive to call people that, and that's the PC I'm worried about.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's all absolutely ridiculous. Like we're all flipped upside down and backwards. Nobody has a clue which way is up. That's what I'm saying. I'm pointing out the absolute absurdity of it. Is what I mean. It's absolutely absurd.
Well, you're absurd that you can't use the stereotypes. You're upset that you can't use the stereotypes as material in your joke. You can use it, but people are going to be upset about it.
And I'm not like mad that they're going to be upset about it. It's just I know that it's going to offend people. I just wish it wouldn't. I wish it could connect people in the way that laughter is supposed to. That we don't need. We don't all have to be hurt by everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think one person's candy is another person's poison. You kind of look at it that way. If you give that candy to someone with diabetes, because I'm going to run this analogy into the damn ground, it becomes a poison, whereas somebody's like, oh, I'm going to have this cool piece of candy and I'm good. And so I think that kind of perspective, and if you can't connect to them with your comedy, you need to show them somehow that you actually have good intent. I think that's what people are worried about these days, is that they don't know who has good intent and who doesn't. I think that's the tough part.
Yeah, it is, because, and that's the thing. Like if you're saying one thing and doing another, right? Like what are your actions telling me?
Right.
Yeah, and that's a huge thing, obviously. But I think pointing to the absurdity of it all, the microtransgressions, just how sensitive everything is. It's just, I think it's funny how sensitive it all is, because just coming from a bigger picture, it's like we're all the same. Like it's absurd that we think that because, somebody likes guys or somebody likes girls or whatever it is, it's like we're different. It's like, that's stupid. We're all the same. And the absurdity is I'm making fun of one, like that you have big nipples or whatever it is. Like it's absurd. We're the same person. We're the same. You know
I
what I
think,
mean? That's the absurdity of it.
no, I think we agree with that. I think the problem with it is that we haven't had the same experiences as people. That, and it doesn't mean that anybody's is worse. I think the problem comes in when you have what some would describe as a systemic, a whole system that is
Yeah.
actually going against them versus, yeah, I was poor growing up and I made it, but I don't compare those two because I wasn't poor because of my skin color. I was poor because of where my family lived and where I grew up and some of the choices my family made before me. But I wasn't like disenfranchised because of who I was born. And I think
Right.
other people feel that is their experience, and stereotypes have summed that up in a very quick and dirty way to some extent. And joking about those stereotypes and leveraging them basically says that it invalidates their experience.
Sure. And I think the biggest thing here is talking from the point of your experience with those stereotypes, not like saying I am those stereotypes, right? Like I know what it's like to be a black person, or I know what it's like to be a woman, or whatever it is. My experience with those stereotypes. And if it's through my lens, I mean that's what all comedy is. It's through the lens of the comedian themselves, of how they see the world, that makes the difference. If I'm telling a joke from the perspective of a black person, well, I've never been a black person before,
Right.
or a woman or any of that. So I have no ground to stand on, but it's all the same of being like, what's your perspective? How do you see the world? How are these stereotypes affecting you? Like I've got a joke about white privilege, and like I don't get white privilege. I mean, I get white privilege. I get it. Like I personally, I get the white privilege. I just don't understand it. Like because white people think I'm stupid. Other white guys think I'm dumb. Like I don't get it from other white people. I don't get white privilege from other white people. You know? So that's what I'm saying. It's like from my perspective of it.
Right. And I'll just go back because we have gone long on this episode. However, hey,
Long-winded.
you do you, Matt. I know you're good at heart. I know you do things with good intent. We've established that on the show. I
Yeah.
think this is going to be a tough journey for you, and I think you're going to lean into it, and I think you're going to do good things. So,
Thanks,
uh,
man.
yeah,
Definitely gonna
no, I
try.
really believe that. I really do. I think we don't have to see eye to eye. That's the other side of it.
Yeah.
That we don't have to, and we could be
Right.
civil about it in this
Yeah.
scenario. So,
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is making connections and just being allowed to have a conversation about everything. Because that's the point of pointing any differences out is let's talk about it. Why am
yep.
I offended by your difference? Why should I be, right? Like that's the point.
Okay, can I also just say I'm so happy that we actually did go long because it was actually great watching the discussion go through this. So
Sure.
I really no because
Good.
you know um and I know I'm adding to the length of the show, but sometimes when we're online, we take it just at what's on the screen, but
Yeah.
just us three sitting here, you two, especially in the last 10 minutes, having that discussion, you guys just listen to each other, and that's fantastic. And I don't think that always happens, which I do think is kind of sums up a lot of what we've been talking about today. So,
Yeah.
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 Absolutely.
You
Okay,
Listening
this
can.
got
is
really
You
deep.
so
This
can.
got
important.
heavy.
I like catchphrases. You can simultaneously respect someone and hold them to the highest standard. I think that's what people forget these days is that
Yeah.
they think if you respect someone, you got to give them breaks. And I
Yeah.
think if we all respected each other and held each other to a high standard, it doesn't mean we always like each other. It doesn't mean we always get along, but we
Yeah.
respect each other. We hold that high standard even to our friends. We hold it to our enemies. We hold it to everyone. I think that's when you can have good, meaningful relationships with people and help inspire them and help make them the best person they can be.
Yeah. I truly believe that every human being is my teacher. Like when I open myself up to that possibility, like everyone has something they can teach me. It's absolutely arrogant of me to believe that I can't learn from somebody else. You know, it's just
Yeah,
it's been fun.
Wow.
this has been
It's
a
been
roller
great, man.
coaster of emotions.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to absolutely dive bomb the conversation on that.
No, let's do a
Just my
quick wrap
personal
up.
beliefs.
Nobody's watching this episode still, but that's okay. No, we get like an average. Yeah, I don't know. Whatever.
No, you guys get a lot of views, man. You guys are killing it.
We do all right. So we're gonna skip shout outs. It's way too late for all that. Matt, thank
Yeah.
you for coming on. Thank you for interviewing me months ago and giving me the confidence to do a YouTube channel myself. You did that. You were a big inspiration. And thank you, David, as always.
And thanks as well to Matt for everything you've done, and not just with YouTube, but just on the Twitter community and bringing members of the community together. It's fantastic. And every time we have these conversations, I'm always kind of just like impressed with your openness and honesty. And I always appreciate that about you. So
thanks, man.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thank you very much for being on the show, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. I'll never be invited back.
No, we're gonna have another one of those serious talks. No. Thanks everyone, and we'll see you later.
Thanks. Bye.